mobility means that devices are leaving the network perimeter at any time, every day, and they're coming back. So basically, what that means is that today's networks lack of a firmly defined perimeter. So the real perimeter are becoming the devices, endpoint devices. The second trend is the IoT. We heard about this as a buzzword. It is actually a very large proliferation of network-enabled devices. So, and this one means mobile devices, but also any wired devices that you might have on your network that previously was not connected to the network. From IP cameras, from locks to the door, and for voice over IP phones, and a lot of new devices depending on the type of industry. BYOD, bring your own device. Employees are bringing personal devices to use for work, and that brings complexity to the management of your network security. And APT, these are advanced persistent threats. These are very sophisticated attacks that are conducted by command control servers, hackers that are very intentional, and they can last for a long period of time. They can be latent for a long period of time, and they're very unpredictable. All right. And lastly, insider threats. The reason why we say this is that we have seen that 60 to 80% of network incidents come from the inside, and they are managed. So insider threats are difficult to detect and difficult to see, and they're more expensive in terms of remediation. So basically, talking about those IT trends, we can summarize really a few vectors of attacks, and that are really unmanaged or not really well managed, fully managed on your network, on modern networks. So first of all, the unauthorized network devices. Having a network device on your network that is unauthorized, especially in certain IP segments of your network, could be a big problem, right? And we're talking about wireless and wired, and we're talking about personal devices, guest, corporate devices, unmanaged device, BYOD, and we're talking about location and time. We need to know at any time where these devices are and when they connect, when they leave the perimeter, the network, right? The second one is the uncompliant devices. So the uncompliant devices could be devices you have approved, they're authorized, they're authenticated, but they don't meet compliance requirements. Or they used to meet compliance requirements, but they don't meet them anymore because they leave the network and they come uncompliant. And basically being able to have policies and all the time to check this compliance of these devices, right? Applications and lateral movements. So basically this means that applications, web applications, but also internally used applications could be something that brings threats, and because they have they might generate peer-to-peer traffic, lateral movements. These kind of movements could be invisible within the network because the traffic is encrypted, and also because you might have a gateway security solution that doesn't look at the lateral movements, the peer-to-peer movements. And lastly, the APT attacks. Basically, these are very hard to detect, and by any of the prevalent security strategies. Even new techniques like sandboxing, obviously signatures, they're not really successful with this detecting these attacks, and they're very often very successful to exfiltrate data from the network. So we heard about very large data breaches almost every day, and these data breaches are affecting also small and medium businesses. So the main question, really, to summarize that all those concepts is really, do you know who's on your network? So why is that important? So the network visibility is the first form of prevention that you can have on your side, right? And obviously, you need to have an automated remediation or mitigation of whatever uncompliancy or issue or threat you have on your network. So visibility means device discovery. You need to have visibility at any time at all the devices connected to your network, but it means also device identification. So it's not enough to have a list of IP addresses, MAC addresses, but it's important to have a device identification, know exactly what they are, what kind of activities they do on your network. So the unauthorized VLAN access is also important. So unauthorized access to your network is extremely important, but especially to certain VLANs where you have the most secure data, like intellectual property, sensitive data, and so on. And rogue access points. Rogue access points could be a huge vector of attack. So having visibility into that, it's extremely important. Rogue access point could open doors. And for certain regulatory compliances, you must know if you have a rogue access point, like PCI, HIPAA compliance, for example. Device compliance, it means do you make sure that all the devices are compliant every time they come back to the network every day, right? So if an employee brings the personal laptop home and he comes back, do you know if he still has all the compliance elements that you wanted as a company policies? All right, so things like that. So do you have a way to manage every device? And then lastly, command and control type of attacks. These are threats. And so do you see them? Do you have visibility into that? And again, I mean, going back to the previous slide, most of the companies have a low management of that, but not really full management. You can detect these attacks at the perimeter as an inbound traffic or as an exfiltration type of detection, but very, very little strategy is in the lateral movements and the internal peer-to-peer generated traffic. All right, so our solution is called iNetSec. PFU, a Fujitsu company, makes this product as a hardware appliance and virtual appliance software base. So there's two options. For the hardware appliance, we offer this small print appliance that is can be mounted on a rack in your data center, and the virtual appliance can be installed on any server. It sits on VMware OS, and basically these appliances need a management interface that can be on-premise or in the cloud. So the deployment is internal. So just to make it clear, this solution is not going to interfere with your existing security level solutions layers, right? So it's internal. So it's deployed at the switch level, and the next slide is going to clarify that. So it will look all the traffic through the switch. It will discover every device that communicates through that switch. Obviously, for a perfect deployment, you want to cover your whole network. And this appliance basically provides next generation network visibility and access control. So this is the deployment. So you can deploy this at a distribution switch, at a core switch, or an access switch. And basically, we need two ports from the switch. One is a tag VLAN port, and one is a mirror port. Tag VLAN port is a layer 2 control, so it will provide the MAC addresses of the devices. And through that port, iNetSec is able to also block devices, disconnect them from the network. The mirror port provides the application traffic. We have visibility from layer 3 to layer 7 and management at those 3 layers and at those layers. And basically, iNetSec is consuming, is looking at the traffic. It's like a packet sniffer, looking at the traffic and make determination of application usage and malicious activities based on network traffic behaviors. So as I said, there's a centralized control. It's a user interface called the manager. So the manager could be on a Windows server, or it could be in the cloud. And you have these sensors deployed throughout your network, and you must have a sensor per each physical location of your network. So if you have remote offices, you have to have at least one per office, right? Now, the main features of this solution: visibility. So iNetSec is able to discover any device on your network. Anything that has an IP address, a MAC address, is going to be discovered. Anything that is a network attached is going to be discovered. From Windows, Linux, Mac OS, really any Android, iOS, and so on. Identification. iNetSec provides automatic identification of these devices, fingerprinting. So it will show you exactly what they are, what type of device, if it's a mobile device, if it's a Windows, if it's an iOS, if it's an Android, and so on. It will tell you the machine name, the NetBIOS name, the location, which IP segment is that device is on, and so on. When it was connected, when it leaves the perimeter. So all that. It will also provide posture check and health assessment through Metadefender, and we'll go over that. It will also check application usage. So we'll provide application usage per device. We'll tell you if a device is using BitTorrent, is watching YouTube, is downloading through Dropbox, is uploading through Dropbox, things of that nature, and how much bandwidth is consuming. So even if it's a personal device. On the security side, it will also check lateral spreads of known and unknown malware and exfiltration of data. So we'll look at network traffic behaviors. We'll connect the dots between the command and control server, the infected device, and the targeted devices, looking at the protocols involved, and we'll determine attacks based on network traffic behaviors. So this one is an internal layer of security. So this one kicks in case your next generation firewall was not able to detect the attack, or your antivirus was not able to detect the malware, right? Response. iNetSec provides response to uncompliant devices, unwanted device, rogue devices, and compromised devices through blocking. So iNetSec is able to block unauthorized devices or infected devices and disconnect them from the network. So, and we'll send you notifications about that. Main benefits. Obviously, you can have your visibility into your network asset and your endpoint inventory. You can manage your Wi-Fi network through registration processes and onboarding processes that you can set up through set and forget type of policies. You can manage your BYOD, your guests, without having an agent. So iNetSec is basically agentless, is an agentless solution. However, through OPSWAT Metadefender, we provide a hybrid approach, managing and checking compliances on the device that you wanna make sure they're compliant. All right. So iNetSec prevents intrusions. iNetSec discovers unauthorized access. iNetSec manages network access to again registration processes or approval processes via email. So an IT administrator knows at any time who's accessing the network. You can even set up an automatic process based on which you can see what type of device is asking connection before you grant the connection to that device. Or you can manage a different VLANs with different policies. You can even be very open and just having just monitor certain VLANs without blocking or managing any access. iNetSec provides containment. So through your segmentation, iNetSec makes sure that a threat doesn't spread. by blocking the device, right, that is compromised. iNetSec can provide bandwidth management through the visibility on the application traffic, even on devices that don't have an agent software. And iNetSec provides compliance. Now, the solution that we're introducing right now through Tony will explain better, is the iNetSec SCS Secure Compliance Solution. So basically, iNetSec is fundamentally agentless, but through the Metadefender agent, iNetSec is providing compliance to those devices even when they're outside the network, even when they leave the perimeter. And there is 11 different categories you can configure, like from disk encryption, firewall enable or disable, patch management, OS updates, unwanted applications, infections through a continuous scan of these devices, user authentications, and so on. We have done a very clean integration. So the iNetSec Manager software will display the whole solution. So if the Metadefender agent is finding an uncompliant device or a device that is supposed to have an agent and that doesn't have the agent, iNetSec Management Console will display those kind of events and will also notify the IT administrator via email. So security and compliance are enforced in concert to this solution. Very, very effective. And Tony will explain this much better than I do.
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, Carmine. Just as a brief introduction, my name is Tony Burning. I work with OPSWAT as a product manager, focusing on our Metadefender product line. So as Carmine was mentioning, for this integration, Metadefender Endpoint Management actually acts to help monitor endpoints for compliance and malware. As you can see in the diagram, the way that this works is that Metadefender is running on the endpoint itself, monitoring for compliance and malware according to the configuration that's been set, and then that device compliance information is sent to iNetSec, and based on that information, iNetSec can then block non-compliant devices. So in the case where, what we'll see on the next slide is that in the case where, we can go ahead and advance to the next slide. So, in the case where there is a device that is not compliant, you can dive into the details and see exactly what it was that Metadefender found. So in this case, on this endpoint, there were multiple infections detected. There was you can also see there's a notice about real-time protection not being turned on. We can also see whether the operating system has been patched up to the required level, whether there's any non-compliant applications, and anything else that you set up as part of your security policy. So, moving on to the next slide, this shows us a little bit of how you can configure the device policy within Metadefender Endpoint Management. This would generally be set up, just need to be set up once, and then once the policy is set, you generally wouldn't need to go back and update this on a regular basis. But within here, this is where like the 11 different compliance checks that Carmine mentioned would be configured. So here's where you can check to confirm that disk encryption is enabled, that updates have been applied, that user authentication is turned on, that you have an anti-malware engine running on the system. This is where you can define exactly what those compliance requirements are. So, then moving on to the next slide, this is an idea. So we support a number of different operating systems, pretty much like any Windows, iOS, Linux, Android, iOS, like operating systems, and for both iOS and Windows, and there's both a persistent agent that remains installed on the endpoint monitoring for compliance. So there is also the option of using a dissolvable agent. So an agent that runs once, doesn't leave behind a footprint, just gathers the information without installing something on the endpoint. So that's a quick overview of exactly what Metadefender Endpoint Management does and how we work together with iNetSec. I'll turn it back over to you, Carmine.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. All right, so this solution is provided by PFU Fujitsu. So again, the integration is really clean. You don't have to install and manage different consoles only initially for the policies, but you will be able to manage your ongoing policies through the manager console. The solution has won a lot of awards. Just to give you a few examples, iNetSec won this year in 2016 the Cybersecurity Excellence Award for Best Network Access Control. We won the Best of Interop last year, and we won for 3 years in a row. We won the InfoSecurity Gold Prize and the MVP Award, and we have a great review on SC Magazine that you can take a look at. A lot of customers have adopted this solution for their internal layer of protection, for their visibility and compliance of the network. Again, this one is not going to interfere with your firewalls, with your IPS, or with your antiviruses. It's something that it sits in the middle of your network and provides the visibility and the remediation that you need to address those issues related to mobility and advanced threats. We have several promotions. We do online demos, and those are really cool. You can see a demo our product on our network, and with one of our sales engineers, you can have one-on-one online demos, so you can ask questions. We do have test drive programs for people who want to take a look at this solution on their own network. We ship we provide links to download the virtual plans, and very easy to deploy, very easy to use, and 30 days test drive. And we have much more information on our website, iNetSec.com, and feel free to send us email in case you want to do an online demo or a test drive at info@iNetSec.com. And we will leave just a couple of minutes for Q&A. We already have 3 questions here, I see. And okay, the first question is how iNetSec is blocking devices. What kind of techniques, right? So that's a very good question. iNetSec is not a traditional network access control. We have a method of blocking device that is it is less intrusive on your network. Basically, iNetSec is not leveraging on the switch configuration or on the switch to block devices. And we use ARP spoofing technique. So we basically spoof devices that needs to be blocked, pretending to be the gateway. So basically, we respond back to those devices, pretend to be gateway, and basically leaving them off the network all the time. It's less intrusive. Again, it's not gonna mess up with your switch configuration, and it's very consistent technique, consistent blocking. Another question is about the email notifications. If we have a notification, yeah, iNetSec provides a lot of different type of notifications to the IT administrator for any event. So it could be an unauthorized access. You can get an email notification. It could be just a network access. You want to be notified of any device that connects to a network. You can be notified of specific IP segment versus others that you don't want to be notified of. You can receive notifications for a malware infection or an unauthorized applications usage, and also the device that he's blocked. If a device is blocked, it will receive a notification on its screen with the reason of the blocking. And all right, the last question, what is it? Is about the blocking notification, right? Yeah, so I just mentioned the blocking notification. Yeah, it's could be done. Is basically the user is notified via a web browser, so we'll receive a blocking screen, as well as a guest Wi-Fi is managed in the same way. So if you want to manage a guest Wi-Fi, the user will receive a registration screen on the browser before he gets connection. If you want to manage your guest Wi-Fi that way. All right. I think it's pretty much it. Thank you again for your time.
So yeah, thanks Carmine and Tony for the explanations. So hopefully everyone found this webinar very informational. And again, if any of you are interested in individual online demo, or if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at info@iNetSec.com. And have a great one, you guys. Thanks.